Whatever you're using to view this newscast, whether it's live or later, you can thank electricity for powering it or charging its battery. Without electricity, we'd all be in a world of hurt. Just ask the folks in Houston who are suffering with the damaged power system there in sweltering heat. Electricity use is growing significantly in the Northwest. It's something we need to keep an eye on. Now, before we get too deep into the weeds here, let's make sure that we all understand one term: megawatt. You're going to hear that a lot in the electrical world, and you'll hear it a lot tonight. It's a common measurement for electrical power. The Northwest Power and Conservation Council says 1 megawatt can power about 796 homes in the Northwest for an entire year. Right now, the council reports the Northwest will use about 22,000 megawatts for the year of 2024. That's enough for roughly 17,500,000 homes. But of course, it's not just homes using electricity these days. We also have to think about electric cars and data centers. And those are forecast to grow quite a bit over the next 5 years, especially the data centers. Here's a projection from the Chelan PUD offered up at a BPA meeting this spring. It's forecasting that the need for electricity will shoot up dramatically in 2026. See that hockey stick there? Mostly it's going to go up from things like server farms and data centers. The overall forecast for tech load looks like this, with the power demand possibly jumping from around 1,500 megawatts up to as high as 8,000 megawatts over the next 5 years. That 8,000 is the amount of power it takes to run about 6.4 million homes a year. So, yeah, it's a big deal. Electric cars, by the way, are not a big deal in terms of electric use right now, but in 5 years, the Power and Conservation Council thinks it could grow to 1,000 megawatts, about 4% of the overall regional demand. Which brings up the question, can the region keep up? The folks in charge certainly hope so, and one way the big power companies are already working toward that are programs called peak rebate or smart thermostat or other similar terms. It happens when PGE or Pacific Power or others ask customers to ease up just a bit, don't run your air conditioners quite as hard, and use a little less power. Here's a look at how it went for PGE on July 8th. They asked customers to ease up around 5 o'clock this past Monday when temperatures hit 102. CEO Maria Pope said customers moving the thermostat just a little bit or letting PGE do it for them cut power use by 109 megawatts, which we know from our earlier math example is enough to power to run 87,000 homes for a year. And it certainly helped the utility get through a peak event. Now, the graph does show that the power drifted back up the rest of the evening, but you know, every little bit helps, and it shows that customers can have a significant impact on power use. Now, as smart people think about the future with the growing demand for electricity from data centers and the shutting off of coal plants in the West that make electricity, which, by the way, is happening and is great for the environment, then other parts of the system become very important. Things like transmission. Nicole Hughes is the CEO of Renewable Northwest. That's a 4-state clean energy advocacy group that's working to decarbonize the electric grid. I recently talked with her about the ability of different areas of the West to share electricity, sending it to where it's needed when they have extra. It's a bit technical, but I know you will follow our discussion here.
An average wind farm in the Columbia River Gorge is about 100 megawatts. And, you know, solar projects, a large commercial solar project is roughly around 100 megawatts. And California is exporting about 6,000 megawatts a day. So that could be upwards of, 5 to 10 commercial generation facilities that are exporting their power out of the state of California and being used by other states. The mechanism that allows that to happen is called the Energy Imbalance Market. That's a market that was established in the early 2000s, and it is being used by utilities that serve customers all across the region, including here in Oregon. And it does its job. It dispatches the least cost resource when it's needed the most. Now, there are ways that we can improve that process, and California Independent System Operator has created a day-ahead market, which now lets us do that transaction quicker. Ultimately, the best we could get from this mechanism here of trading excess energy is to create what's called a full regional transmission organization, where we have access to this generation across a diverse footprint all across the West. So that's what we're leading towards, but we're not quite there yet.
And that sounds good in theory, but is there enough bandwidth on the lines? That's probably not the right term, but can the lines move all that energy?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Transmission capacity constraints are becoming like the pacing item for us here, meeting our decarbonization goals. We do not have enough transmission right now in the region to meet our clean energy goals. We need to build new transmission, and we need to learn how to use our existing transmission more efficiently.
Okay. That doesn't sound all that hopeful because I think one of the big utilities, maybe it's PacifiCorp, has been trying to build new transmission lines for something like 10 years, and I don't think they've even broken ground yet.
Yeah, the last transmission line that was approved in our region is the Boardman to Hemingway project, which is an Idaho Power and PacifiCorp partnership. The project hasn't started construction yet, but it would take about 20 years from the time that they started that project until when it's going to get built.
So a bit of a lag there. Okay, she's talking about two things there. One is a market where energy traders can buy and sell based on what they're going to need the next day or days and buy that electricity from all over the West. The other issue, though, is how to get it there. As more and more electricity is needed, the power lines can get congested, almost like a freeway. So bigger lines that can handle more electricity are needed too. And that, as we just heard, is a very slow process. Something you to think about the next time you turn on the lights or the air conditioner.